Exhaustion, overwhelm, and burnout. It happens a lot in the creative industries, and in film, it is far too common. Lately, I've been having a lot of conversations about how to overcome burnout and how to stop it from coming back. And I've learned a few things that I'd like to share that don't compromise your creativity. I'm going to go through 3 common problems that lead to burnout and how to manage them. I myself have slipped into not being able to switch off and having random breakdowns on a Wednesday afternoon, so I needed to find this advice. And to my surprise, some of these things have started helping immediately. So let's dive in. One of the main reasons that people burn out is because they're using every second of their time to work. I fall into this category. This is my biggest downfall. I just have so much to do and so little time to do it in. I often fantasize that I have the stopwatch from Bernard's Watch, that old show from the 90s where the kid could stop time. And I think if I could only stop time, I could work away and then I could unfreeze time again when all of my friends are available and I could go and do fun stuff. But honestly, if I had that, it would take months for me to catch up on work. Everybody would be frozen for a really long time. And even if this was a fantastical solution that was available to me, it doesn't stop the fact that I'm overwhelming myself with stuff to do in the first place. Between day-to-day work as an editor, making my own social content, applying for funds and opportunities, going along to attend events, filming interviews, giving workshops, and everything else that I try to cover, I honestly don't make a lot of time for living. I found myself working whilst I was on the tram. I was listening to podcasts in the car so that I could cram in a bit more learning to my day. I was taking calls whilst I was walking about and squeezing in meetings around working. And this really doesn't give your body or your mind any time to rest. And the thing is, we really need rest in order to be creative. We need to allow ourselves to switch off and not be processing or generating information sometimes. It's in the moments alone when we're not doing something, we're not listening to a podcast or dropping our own podcast in the form of a voice note, the stillness and the calmness of not having chaos going on around you is where your mind gets to wander, and it's where you come up with new ideas. Only you can create and control how much of that time you give to yourself. And for me, I came up with a few rules to help control it. My first rule is that I only have one night a week where I will do work stuff. The rest of the nights of the week are for chilling. I implemented this rule because I was constantly scheduling stuff after work that I had to go to, or calls that I was going to take from home, or talking to people whilst I was traveling home. And honestly, it's just too much. You really need to give your mind time to rest. And so I will still do it once a week because there is a lot going on and lots of people want to talk to me about stuff. But that limitation allows me to get to the end of the day and know that I am going to allow myself to rest. My second rule for myself is that Friday nights are sacred. I do not work on Friday nights. And I will only compromise that in extreme circumstances. Recently, my film The Boulder was playing at a film festival on a Friday night, so that's acceptable. But otherwise, I'm not going to schedule in any calls, any meetings, any sort of shoots or any other stuff that could get in the way of me enjoying that night off. And if you're going to go with this rule, I recommend just finding a time a week that's sacred to you and just making sure that you never plan something in then. Because honestly, looking forward to the peace and tranquility of a Friday night is motivating. It's something that I look forward to every week. And I even have a bit of a ritual. I have my favorite dinner and I do my favorite things. And I think that enriches my creativity so much more than if I was to cram more work in on a Friday night. My third rule is that I track what's going on with my time. So a few years ago, I started to keep a bit of a journal in terms of month to month, I'd have a to-do list and I'd figured out how I was going to do it all. And that's grown and developed so that I have my to-do list on the right-hand page and I have the month mapped out on the left-hand page. And as my to-do list grows, I start to slot the tasks into certain days. The great thing about this is that you can only fit so much in one day's space. So if it's crammed, I know I'm trying to take on too much. I kind of want to have gaps in that time, and that really at a glance lets me see my entire month and if I've filled it to the point that I'm going to have a breakdown, or if I've allowed myself to have some free time. Because when things pile up, I get really stressed. And then I become less productive. If I'm sleepy, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to be sloppy. I'm going to be clumsy. If I am occupied with the thoughts of all the other things that I have to do, I can't concentrate. So everything suffers if I don't manage my time. This is one of those things I mentioned that immediately had an impact on my burnout. Once I take a look at my time mapped out, I can spot really easily if burnout's coming up and I can do something to manage it. I can reschedule meetings, I can move tasks, I can make sure that I'm not trying to do too much all at once. And that really makes an impact on your mental health. If you decide to do this yourself, you can do it any way you want to. Maybe it's a calendar app from Google or Outlook or something like that. Maybe it's a different app on your phone that allows you to track tasks. Maybe it's just a to-do list in the Notes app. Or maybe, like me, you're old-fashioned and you like to use an actual book. That's absolutely fine. I just think that whatever system works for you, try and utilize it to your benefit. And honestly, a lot of people have seen me with my book about and they've been like, whoa, you're so organized. And I'm like, yeah, I have to be this organized. Otherwise, I will slip into chaos and not manage myself and my time in a way that allows me to actually enjoy life. Mastering your own time is definitely going to lead to less burnout. And if you're experiencing burnout now, sitting down to this task, first of all, can really be the springboard for a lot of other positive changes. The term kill your darlings is used in filmmaking, particularly in the editing process, and it's to remind filmmakers that even if this shot is beautiful, even if it took a lot of effort to get it, even if it's your favourite one, you may need to let it go. A beautiful shot can completely ruin a scene, or it can stop the story from moving forward. In the same way that something you're very attached to dearly can be preventing you from managing your life. Taking on far too much and having so many things on the go that you can't concentrate and you can't give your best self to what you're doing means that everything that you're doing is going to become a bit sloppy. And trust me, no one in production wants someone who can't manage their time. Sometimes you really have to take a look at, is there something here that you may really love, but is not helping you in any way? Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes shoot days can be 13, 14, maybe more hours. And I've been on edits that have been 13-hour days, 6 days a week. That's pretty brutal, and it's maybe not something that you have control over. I certainly didn't.
Oh, this was supposed to arrive an hour ago, so can you chase it up for me?
What is it?
It's an order from this morning, but there's no drivers to pick it up, so can you sort...
Where should I go to? Right, okay. Hey, you okay, Tia?
Just need a break.
I'll get you a bottle of water, okay? Yeah.
Okay, we need a chair right now. Grab one of those.
I was getting...
Look, forget what you're doing, just grab one when you're on set.
Okay.
Come on, hurry up.
Where are the drinks? Stop all this. Drink to Helen.
Okay.
Go.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just a little bit much is going on.
I am very guilty of taking on 2 or more jobs at the same time because I find it really hard to say no. But we can take a look at what we do have control over. The first things that you have to let go of, the first darlings to kill, have got to be unpaid work. Yes, it might be a favour to a friend, or it might be something that you're really excited to work on. But if you're struggling to spread your time and you've got paid work that is helping you work towards your goal, then unfortunately that unpaid gig has to be the first thing that's culled. If you don't have the energy to do both at the same time, then you're not going to do a good job on either, and it's only going to lead to people being disappointed. It's better to let them know that you can't do it and let them find somebody else who can commit and give them their all. And just because you've had to say no now doesn't mean that you're out in future. You can let people know that now is just a really busy time, but this is up your avenue and you want to be invited again. Next, take a look at any jobs you've taken that are not helping you progress in the direction that you want to go. So for example, if you've said yes to being the sound person on a short film for a few weeks, but your real passion is to become a documentary editor, then it's not likely that being a sound person on a short film is going to help you reach your goal. That's got to be the thing that goes next. These things might be complementary in a bigger scale. I do think it's a good idea to have a little bit of experience of different parts of production. But if you're burned out and you can't cope with the amount of work on your plate, then take a look at the things that aren't actually helping you get to the life that you'd like to have. Now, I do struggle to balance the creative life financially, and when someone says they're going to pay me for my creative skills, I find it so difficult to say no. I am pretty much a say yes and figure it out kind of person. But this is exactly how you end up burned out, and so this is my solution. If you have some peers who are at the same level as you, maybe the same discipline, and have the same work ethic, then strike a deal. Let them know that if you have too much work on your plate, you're going to send some of it their way. And if they're in that situation, they can do the same back. I have a handful of people who I know can do a really good job to the same level that I could. And so if things come my way that I can't manage, I will send them on to the people that I trust can do the job as good as me. That way, it means that you're creating an environment where you help people and they help you. And the employer still gets a really good job done. And the trust between you and that employer is still there. They know if they ask you to do a job, whether you can do it or whether you hand it to someone else, they're going to get a good job out of that group of people. Work will come back to you if you follow this idea and create that trust within your network. I remember everyone who's ever thrown me a bone or has put my name into an important hat, and I will absolutely return that kindness. Another reason that filmmakers and creatives burn out is because it is stressful. Making a film and making something creative requires a great deal of discipline, patience, and tenacity. Every part of production is like a relay race, only once you've passed the baton on, someone else hands you another one. A couple of months ago, it was reported that an assistant director had passed away on the set of Emily in Paris. 47-year-old Diego Borella reportedly died after collapsing in front of colleagues as they were preparing to film a scene. This really stunned me when I read it. I felt for Borella, knowing how chaotic production generally is, but also how being an assistant director is one of the most stressful jobs out there. On digging further, I learned that being an assistant director means you have the lowest life expectancy on a production, even lower than the people who are doing stunts. So if jumping through a window or off of a burning building or being in a simulated car crash is safer than being an assistant director, then there's definitely something wrong with production. This isn't something that will change overnight, but it's something that I've seen become a focus within the industry, and there are people out there that are working to make it better. If you feel like this affects you, then this advice is for you. The Film and TV Charity have a 24-hour hotline that you can call for help and advice. I myself haven't used this particular one, but I have called a hotline before when I was in distress. And I can honestly say that just talking to someone can be really helpful. Even if they don't understand the TV industry, just being able to recount what's going on and go through it with somebody can really help you contextualize it and sort of figure out a few solutions by yourself. But the Film and TV Charity are there because this is their specialism, and you may find that they have solutions you haven't thought of before. But again, just having a voice on the end of the phone can really drastically change how you feel. The film and TV charity also have a toolkit for productions, heads of departments and crew members to use to prioritise mental health on production. This is something that when I started Cinora, I decided to write a manifesto, and now that I have people on the team, I've had to come up with a company handbook. And I realised that it was really important to me to prioritise mental health during production. And to be honest, at all times, but in that area specifically. There have been days where we could have all stayed longer and shot more. But if it is at the detriment to the mental health of my cast and crew, then why? Why would we do it? I don't want people to leave feeling exhausted. I don't want people to dread coming onto a set. And I don't want people to have that as their reference point for how this should all work and run. One of the big problems is that film and television costs a lot of money to make. It takes a lot of people and it takes a lot of time. And if you think that you can cut corners and squeeze the budget and elongate time by having people do longer days, then you're going to save money. And that might be the difference between one production company getting a commission and the other getting it. If you can say that you do it cheaper because you're going to make people work longer and harder, then that might be the thing that wins you that commission. But I honestly feel like we really have to break this culture, because instead of creating a lovely circular system where people are getting lots of commissions and there's tons of work, we're in fact squeezing the industry so hard that people are finding it unsustainable to give their energy to and unsustainable to make a living from. There is a big crisis in this industry in the UK, and I think that taking a look at mental health and prioritising it could be the key to making things a lot more sustainable for the future. And fundamentally, I don't want other people to suffer for my art. I suffer already for it, so why should others? I also find meditative practices to be really useful in helping me cope with the stress of running projects, of being on set, of day-to-day life as a filmmaker and a creative. I like to journal. I think it can be really helpful to get things off your chest and also to practice gratitude. So if you've had a really great day, make sure you're remembering that as well as the days that were a bit more challenging. And I recently came across a website called Adrift. This is where you write your worry down on a digital piece of paper, and it's folded into a little paper boat and released into a digital pond adrift with all the other worries. The big reveal of this video is that when something seems too simple to be effective, it often really is effective. And I would say just releasing my worry into adrift, watching it float away, and then clicking on other people's worries and reading them, anonymously of course, really helped me feel better about what I was worrying about in that moment. And what Adrift also has is a care tab where you can switch over to another pond that's full of little paper boats where people have written lovely, encouraging and inspirational notes that really help you perk up and feel inspired and feel like everything's going to be okay. I don't know if this is a filmmaker thing, but feeling like I'm part of something bigger than myself can often be really helpful. So those are my tips for managing burnout. Thank you for watching today. If you know anyone else who might find this video useful, please send it their way. And you might want to check out the FIlmmakers Gameplan, which I am going to link in the video up the top where the link comes along, because I made this tool for filmmakers to help them manage their productions. And it takes the stress out, it saves time and keeps everything all in one place for you. So if you find that aspect of filmmaking a little bit stressful and you would like to explore a tool that can help you manage burnout, then check out the FIlmmakers Gameplan.